Hey there, welcome back to Coding at Home with the Code Hub. Hey there, I'm Matt with the Code Hub. Welcome back. We are going to be doing a little bit more Reality Composer stuff today. After the end of yesterday's lesson, I was talking with the guys downstairs and they were explaining to me what they did. And it highlighted to me that there are some common mistakes that you make and that I make when I'm trying to create an image anchor. So we'll go over a little bit of that today. We'll also talk first, though, about WWDC 2020, which is coming up next week. There'll be a big platform State of the Union in the evening, Irish time. And then there's going to be a State of the Union for the platforms. And then there'll be sessions throughout the week. If you haven't grabbed the developer app already, we're going to show you that a little bit in a sec. They've got a whole bunch of new content in there. They've got new developer forums, so you can talk to other people about Swift development. And as you guys have gone through quite a bit of coding already, you fit in with this community now. That you'll be able to talk with them about Swift and playgrounds and you name it. The augmented reality stuff we've been doing. You've come up with some amazing stuff so far. Another thing that's relevant to you guys watching this session is the Swift Student Challenge winners were announced, and we'll take a look at those guys in a sec too, and show you where to get info about the apps that some of these students built. So that's what's on tap for today. Let's hop over to the iPad and we'll start checking out what's available now in the developer app. All right, cool. So we're just going to pop over to our iPad. Now we went over this before. We had a look at the developer app before. If you don't have it, you can go off to the App Store. And the first thing you're going to see in the App Store in the Today panel is this. Congrats, Swift Student Challenge winners. So it's just in the Today tab. If we tap into that, you can read all about the student winners. Now, unfortunately, I didn't see anybody who had taken the Code Hub's classes. Hopefully next year, you guys will be well on top of it since you've built your apps at this stage. So we had Lars from Germany, built this really cool charcoal app. It's beautifully done. A beautiful sketch app with some really nice muted colors. We have Maria from Brazil. She did this amazing dress app where basically she lets you sort through your wardrobe and pick out appropriate outfits for the evening, depending, or day, or depending what you're planning on doing. Really, really well done. And this is available on you can actually tap on it and it's available on the App Store. Very cool. We've got Ritesh, who's built this stem pump, and it's basically a bunch of programming courses run by kids like you watching this course. So it says grade 6 to 12. That's going to be secondary school here in Ireland. I think you guys, especially some of you guys are a little bit younger than that, are well capable of working through these classes. And then it gives a little plug for Swift Playgrounds at the end. So those are your Swift Student Challenge winners for 2020. Hopefully I'll see a couple of your names up there next year in 2021. But that's pretty good. But we were on here not to see the winners of the Swift Student Challenge. We were actually over here. We'll get out of that. We'll go search for the developer app. If we just search for developer, you can see our very first option is the Apple developer app. Now, we downloaded this a few weeks ago when we were looking at augmented reality videos and we were trying to find videos about how to use certain Apple technologies and frameworks. If I open this up, I've got the updated version because they just shipped a new update to it because WWDC is coming along. There's a new WWDC tab down there. And if we look, we can see what events are coming up. So the special event keynote for us over here in Ireland and England, it's going to be on at around 6 o'clock in the evening on June 22nd. And then the State of the Union's a little bit later. We've got these all new developer forums coming pretty soon. And they're starting to build the schedule for next week for all the different sessions. So hopefully we'll see some more Reality Composer sessions, and we'll be able to talk about that either as they're happening or just after they're happening. And then it has a call out to the Swift Student Challenge as well. Remember, this is a great place for, if we tap on the Discover tab, this is a great place for you to go check out great developer habits, how to file good bug reports, which is very important for developers. Talks about the labs. We can go have a look over here about how to work with the beta software, because they'll probably release the next version of iOS with all the new features that they're going to talk about over next week. But we can also browse over here. So if we wanted to go back and learn more about RealityKit, you can see that we've been watching a few RealityKit videos here. But we can have a search for different topics. Prototyping is a great one to take a look at. We can do AR, VR is where we're going to find all of that augmented reality stuff. Get to know Reality Composer is a great video to watch. And there's a ton here. So it's a great app to go play around with. It's free. Runs on your iPad. There's a version now for the Mac. You can run it on your phone and watch these videos. It's well worth grabbing this stuff. All right, so that's what's coming up next week. You can tell that I feel like a kid at Christmas time, because this is kind of what it's like for a developer when you get new goodies from the very brilliant engineers over at Apple. Kind of they've been working all year for this kind of thing where they get to show off the work that they've done, and we'll have all these new advancements in augmented reality and you name it. All right, so let's open up Reality Composer and see where we wound up yesterday. So we have this here, Gym Patrol on the purple line was the book that I was using as my image anchor. If you open up the scene inspector, you'll recall that I have an About This Book scene where a little tab of Jay's name came out because he's one of the main characters. And if I tap on the About Jay scene, this gives me a bit more information about him, saying, okay, great, he's a 9-year-old wannabe detective who's searching for his lost friend. We had an idea about putting a face there. And that was the image we took, this Gym Patrol image. We just took a picture of the cover of the book. One of the important things we did was we actually went and set the physical width and physical height of the book, because when we imported it, it guessed that it was actually much larger than it was. Maybe it was guessing that it was sort of poster sized rather than book cover sized. So let's try one more book. We're going to try a new project today. I'm actually going to go hit the back arrow here. I'm going to create one more project. And since today is June 16th, which is Bloomsday, I know down around this part of Dublin, they usually have the kids march over to Sandy Cove and over to the Tower for Bloomsday to celebrate James Joyce's novel Ulysses. Let's use Ulysses as our book cover. All right, so I'm going to, first off, we'll just move that guy. And then what we're going to do is go back and we're going to rename New Project 13 to Bloomsday. All right, so here's our Bloomsday project. Now, before I start anything, I need a picture of the book cover to work with. So let's go off to the camera. Here we go. We've got Ulysses there. Now, there are a few common things that'll cause you issues. They're not mistakes, but they're things that'll cause you issues. So if I back up here and I take my photo, I've now got my photo of Ulysses. I've got a bit of the background there. Now I could do this. I could say, all right, well, let me export this to files. I'll scroll up, pick save to files. I haven't cropped it at all. In fact, we'll call it that. We'll call it Ulysses dash non-cropped. And we'll hit done. And we're just going to save that on the desktop. And now that we've done that, we're actually going to go off and let's save this. Let's go off to Reality Composer. We're going to open up our Bloomsday project. So all we're going to do with these exercises here is play around with our image anchors and see what ones work well, which ones don't. So now I'm going to choose, I'm in my properties inspector here. Let's turn it to the side so we have a bit more space. I have my properties inspector over here. I could name my scene. I won't in this case. I'm going to pick which image asset I want. So I'm going to import one. I'm going to pick my Ulysses non-cropped. And then once I've imported it, I'm going to tap on that item. So now by default, the physical width is 1.15 meters by 86.36 centimeters. I don't think that that's right. It's not that big a book. But let's try this. Let's see if we can get our object here to appear on our book cover. So I'm going to turn on AR. And let's go looking for it. Let's see if we get right over the top of it. See, we're not having a lot of luck. It's not detecting it because it's not snapping onto my book cover. All right, well, let's stop this and go back. So one thing we can do is we can change the size. So let's tap on, right now my properties are showing me the properties of this hexagon. So let's tap on the grid for the scene. And you can see actually I've lost my image selection. So let's choose that again. We'll pick our imported one. Okay, cool. There we go. Now we can see our image is showing up on the screen. Physical width is still 1.5 meters. Let's try playing this again. See if we can detect it. Okay, all right, cool. Well, it detected it. That's not bad. If we hit play, there it is. If I pick this up, it's a little jittery, but actually now it seems to have, it's not following my book anymore. And it only follows it when I have it over the desk. Because as soon as I move off the desk, I leave behind my object. And then I pick it up again. And that might be a cool effect. Maybe you can use that somehow. But that's not what we want. When we're trying to detect a book, what we really want to do is make sure that we get a very distinct image, but one that captures the thing we want to anchor to. So if this book happens to be on someone else's desk that doesn't have this kind of funky pattern, we're gonna run into issues. So this Ulysses augmented reality experience is really only going to work if you're in this particular room with this desk and this edition of the book. So that's not great. But this cover is actually kind of useful because it's got a lot of elements on it that are pretty distinct. You don't see, this kind of, this bright U, the red kind of L next to it. So maybe we can kind of play around with that a little bit. So let's go back. And you'll notice that even though we have, if we tap on the thing here and we look at our image asset, here we're going to turn off AR so that we can actually change the physical width of this. Even though we're saying that the physical width of the book is 1.15 meters, it's still able to detect it. This is just a hint to help the machine learning algorithms figure out that, this looks like it's about the right size. Because if you look, there's a really cool built-in feature here in the iPad or built-in app called Measure. And if you open up that, that's going to use augmented reality and the camera. See, we have, just like we have our augmented reality experiences, we had to move the iPad to determine to sort of lay out the scene. Let's add a point here. And then we'll drag over here. All right, so that's 16 centimeters. The nice thing about measures is you can actually change the units. So instead of just centimeters, I also get my inches, so people like me can understand it a bit better. So okay, so 16 centimeters is what we're dealing with for the book. Hope if I didn't hit the power button. Cool, so we're dealing with 16 inches. It's again, it has to, because it's AR based, it has to sort of reorient itself. There we go, 15 across the middle. Okay, maybe it's not 100% accurate, but that's not bad. So the Measures app is using augmented reality to figure out the lay of the land. We can measure distances between objects using just our iPad camera, which is something pretty amazing. You can do the same thing with your phone. So because we now figured out, thanks to the Measures app, that it's not 1.15 meters across, we can change the width to 16. But now we have a little bit of a problem, because now the height is 12 centimeters. So I think we have our image oriented wrong as well. So it's considering this part here, the height, and this part here is the width. So okay, so that's another thing that we can sort of troubleshoot and say, all right, well, let's change the physical height then. Instead of rotating the image, we'll just change the height to 16. And the width then is 22. So from the top to the bottom of the book is 22. Let's try seeing if that improves anything. Let's turn on AR. Okay, cool. That's a bit better. Let's hit play to have it stick there. Okay, we have the same issue where when we take it off the background, it moves off of our scene. It's also a little jittery, but I think that's down to the fact that our background is a bit too, we've captured too much of our background. So let's see, the way we could fix that is we might want to export, like if we zoom in, we can see that we've got too much of the edge all around here of our book. So in fact, we've even got a bit of the protractor there. So we're lucky that it's showing up half the time. So let's go back to our Photos app. And now we don't have to take a new picture. All we have to do is we just need to crop this a little bit. So we're going to hit the edit button. We wait for that photo to load. We're going to crop. So we'll hit this button here. And we'll crop way in. In fact, let's try to put it right on the U. And let's see. Let's get that right in there so we're focused mostly on the U. The vast majority of what we have selected is that blue and yellow U of Ulysses. So we're going to use that as our anchor. So we'll hit done. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to save this to files. This time as not image 77. We're going to save it as Ulysses cropped. And we'll save that to our desktop. And we'll go back out and open up Reality Composer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to hit this replace button to pick another better image here. So let's import our new cropped U. And that's going to be our image anchor. Now that's having a wild guess that it's 25 centimeters wide by 50 centimeters high. Okay, so this is better, right? This you'd consider the height, and this you'd consider the width. That's closer. Let's use the measures app to figure out how big that is, though. So we're going to open up the measure app and move it around. You can use that same coaching view that they use there. Here, if we back out and we launch it again, this same coaching view that shows up says move iPad to start, you can actually use from your own code. Let's have a rough guess. Let's pick a point here. As my hand keeps shaking and moving. All right, so that's going to be about 4 centimeters wide instead of 15. So let's get out of that. 4 centimeters. We'll open up Reality Composer, change our width to 4 centimeters. You can see that our object that we have on the scene is not changing. And in fact, it's a little bit bigger than that because I have a bit of that greenish white next to the U. So maybe we'll say 5 roughly. Okay, cool. Now let's just to test it out, we'll turn on AR and we will have a look around. Oh, nothing yet. Not working there. It's not finding it at all. Okay. So we've also got to deal with a bit of shine from the outside. All right, so maybe that's not enough information for the ARKit system to work with. Well, sort of. It's sort of detected it. Not really, though. Yep. That's not enough. So what we have to do is we have to play around with it. Let's go back to our image. Go back to photos. We're going to choose edit. Now we can change the crop. This hasn't lost the information on our photo. All right, there we go. Got a bit of our book back. Let's try this. I've cropped out the stuff that's not on the cover anyway. So let's see if this'll work for us. We're gonna hit done. And we'll save this image out. So we'll export it and we'll save it to files again. We'll call this one, we'll call this large crop. Just so we remember roughly what we did here. And then we'll go back to Reality Composer again. So depending on your book cover, you might have to go back and forth a few times. We were fairly lucky the last few days because we were being, we just took pretty good photos and we cropped them well of the Gin Patrol on the Purple Line and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But let's try replacing our Ulysses cropped image, and here we go. We'll tap on that. All right, and we'll select. Now we have 3 different choices in our content library. We're going to pick this one. Physical width again. Let's put it down to about 10. Just to the guess, because we saw before with the image with the extra stuff around the edge of the picture of the desk, we were still able to figure it out, even though we were saying that it was really a meter in real life. So let's try turning on AR. See what we get. Okay, it looks like we found the book the image that we're looking at. Here, let's hit the play button. Let's try moving it. Well, yeah, it rotates with us as we move the book. Okay, I don't have it placed really well because I have the hexagon sticking right into the camera. But it's moving, even when I move it out by the window. It still looks pretty good. Okay, so let's stop that and let's figure out where we're going to place our element. So it's up there. I can actually do this in the book view. You can see that it actually detected the plane a bit too high. So let's turn off augmented reality and see if we can tweak that a little bit. I'm going to scroll around. Well, we have our shape the right size. I'm going to pinch it and make it a little, well, pinch the thing to zoom in. And then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to change the height. I'm going to make it a bit smaller, make the diameter a bit smaller. Actually, I'm going to reset. Just remember, we have this handy way of resetting its position. We're going to put it right in the middle. And this will be our little pedestal for any other content that we want to build. Let's try detecting that again. Let's see how we do if we move our iPad around. We're still a little bit above it. It's not quite right. And it's a little bit off. Now this is a little bit better. Now it's kind of snapped to it. Now it's not going to move. If I turn this out of the way, it won't turn all the way over that way. And I run into a small problem when I turn the book enough. It's kind of my way to lose my image stuck to it. All right, so let's stop that. So maybe not the best image still. Let's try retaking our photo and see if we can't get it even more faithful here. So we're going to go back to our camera. We're going to stand up over our book. Remember, we also tried using the scan capabilities of the Notes app. But let's just take this photo. Okay, we'll open that photo up. That is not what I want at all. Here, we're going to take this photo. This is the one we're going to edit. Break it in so we get its edges. That looks a bit more like it because we've got our very sharp edges defined. We'll hit done. And then we'll save this one to files too. And we're going to call this one again, because we're running out of names here, Ulysses full. Alright, done. We'll save that to the desktop. Now we'll go back to Reality Composer again. And we're in augmented reality mode, so we'll turn that off. We'll hit the X button there. Again, we can't see it, but you can guess that based on this properties over here that we've actually got our object selected. I'm going to turn off augmented reality. And now if I tap on the grid, we'll change our image one last time. So we're going to hit the replace button. None of these work for us, so we're going to hit plus. We're going to add our Ulysses full image. And we'll select that. Now again, this had a wild guess and it said it's 72 centimeters. Let's not do that. Let's say it's around, let's say 18. So ideally, our hexagon is going to show up on the cover, and we'll be able to see the cover around it. Let's try it out. Augmented reality on. Okay, cool. That looks a lot better. And the reason why that looks a lot better is because we have an image here that has our distinct edges that the camera is able to pick up. It had a little harder time when we just had a subset of this, even with our U. If we hit play, we've got it sticking to the edge much better. Even if it gets a little bit shiny, it can still detect those edges. So you want to make sure you get just to the edges of your book, but not too much more. Because what might happen is you might take a picture of the book, or you might use a scan in Notes, and you'll have a black border around the side. So if I took a scan of this particular book, remember to take a scan, you press and hold on Notes, and you get an option to scan document. And we can see that yellow triangle. So we can hit the picture button. So great, we took it. We'll save it. So now what I could do is take a screenshot by hitting the power button and the home button. But I have a whole bunch of black around here and a bunch of other chrome around here. So even if I manage to shrink it down with this extra black, it's going to confuse the image recognition system, because it's going to expect this edition 831, 8V0, and everything to appear wherever we expect to find this in the real world. So we want to make sure when we take our images, we've been kind of flying by the seat of our pants and doing it just very quickly during our sessions. But you want to make sure when you're building your augmented reality experience for real that you take a good picture, you cut out all the extra stuff around the edges. Maybe editing in photos isn't going to be enough. Maybe you're going to need to rotate it a little bit. Maybe you took your picture a little bit off center and there's no way for you to get rid of the stuff around the edges. So you might need to take it into another image editor like Pixelmator or Acorn or Photoshop or one of those. Because it's going to make a huge difference to your augmented reality experience. So this is our Notes app, but our augmented reality experience looks a lot better with our final picture there, because we captured all the edges of the book right to the edges. We didn't capture any of the desk stuff, so we can hold it up in front of ourselves and move it around a bit. And it's a lot more interesting experience because it looks more like it's actually stuck to the book. So those are some tips for taking good photos with your iPad, so you can use them for your Reality Composer scenes. I hope you've enjoyed our image anchor stuff. Tomorrow we're going to go back to a little bit of Swift Playgrounds and play around with flashy photos and get back to some Swift coding. And we should also have a little treat for you. We should have a video that'll explain to you how to get set up on Xcode. So if you have a Mac lying around, we'll explain to you how to go off to the store, download Xcode, and start a new project. And because you're familiar with Playgrounds, because you've been following along this whole time, you'll be able to start Playgrounds that you can run on the Mac inside Xcode, just to refresh yourself on some of those Swift concepts that we've gone over already. All right, I hope you enjoyed today, and we'll see you soon.